There's been a lot of talk over the years about new skills that could be added to OSRS to make the game better. With that in mind, I developed some ideas for skills that would take OSRS to the next level. So let's jump right into this. My first idea for a skill is eating. Think about it this way. If you're looking to catch, let's say, a shark, you need 76 fishing, and to cook it, you need 80 cooking. So it doesn't really make any sense that after all that, there is no level requirement to actually eat the shark. That's exactly where the eating skill would come into play. In order to eat any food in RuneScape, you would need an eating level that was higher than the cooking level required to cook the food that you're about to eat. This is sort of a two-part pitch, and you can probably see where I'm going next. I would also implement a drinking skill, which would be required to drink any potion in the game. This same logic would apply here, only with herb lore. For example, since you need 63 herb to make super restores, you would need 65 drinking to actually drink them. Now, I have added a very interesting twist to this one, and that is that if you accidentally put an item in your inventory that you don't have the eating or drinking level to consume, you have a chance to have a violent allergic reaction, draining all of your stats and causing you to take massive damage. My next pitch for a skill is walking. Think of this as a precursor to agility. Before you learn to run, you must learn to walk. Which is why if this skill were released, the agility skill as well as the ability to run at all would be locked behind 99 walking. The entire game would have to be reworked to accommodate this skill, but as the name suggests, you would gain XP from walking around RuneScape. I've developed a nice graph here, and as you can see, at level 1 walking, you start off with an 87% chance of falling down and taking damage for every tile walked. As you level up, your chance to fall decreases, and as you can see, by level 99, you only have a 4.5% chance of falling for each tile walked. The way I envision the falling mechanic is similar to failing a pickpocket, where you get stunned for 4 to 6 seconds depending on the terrain you are walking across. Due to all of this extra damage, players will be incentivized to bring food wherever they go, which will really add to the whole RPG element. You are a traveling adventurer that may need to heal at any given moment, no matter what activity you are partaking in. Danger would be lurking on every single tile, making the game more immersive. This skill would bring forth a new era of theory crafting, where killing any given boss while moving as little as possible becomes the most efficient method. Next up, we have the happiness skill. This skill would introduce a mood meter into the game, which would increase and decrease depending on what happens to your character. At level 1 happiness, you will be prone to mood swings, as well as sudden bouts of depression that will nerf your damage against monsters, as well as your XP rates in all other skills. As your mood plummets further, loot drops from bosses will be nerfed, and eventually, when the mood meter bottoms out, your character will be paralyzed with anxiety and completely unable to move. The way you would train your happiness level would of course be by playing various board games with other players at the Birthorpe Games Room. This fixes the issue of people complaining about OSRS being a solo MMO, because socializing is an absolute requirement for this skill. Playing these games with your alts to try to circumvent this requirement should be bannable and treated with the same severity as real-world trading. Your mood level would increase from things like reading witty quest dialogue or completing an elite diary. Things like taking damage or getting flamed by other players would decrease your mood, and recharging your mood back to full would require you to AFK in your player-owned home for 1 to 2 hours to mellow out. This would of course increase the overall friendliness of the player base, as being rude to others would have a real negative impact on someone's gaming experience, and I'm sure no one would want that. Next on the list, we have Cleaner, the skill that you train by cleaning various items to gain XP. This is kind of like cleaning herbs, except this skill covers all other items. Every item in the game will have a cleanliness score that will decline gradually, and the item will be rendered useless when the score reaches 0. I would do this a bit differently than the degradation of Barrow's armor, however. With the implementation of this skill, armor and weapons that began to get dirty would immediately start losing effectiveness and get weaker and weaker the lower their cleanliness score got. Cleaning Getting high level armor such as Torva or Ancestral would require a cleaner level in the high 90s, and if you hadn't trained the skill, the only way to get this done would be to trust another player with a high cleaner level to service your armor. I realize that in current day OSRS, there are no legitimate reasons to do trust trades, and this skill could change that. It would add to the excitement of the game because you'd never know whether you were getting your armor cleaned or if you were just getting scammed. This would appeal to the gamblers out there who miss the duel arena. Every trade related to this skill would indeed be a gamble. You would start training the skill by going all over RuneScape and picking up useless drops that people left on the ground, and then bringing them to various trash compactors scattered across the map. You'd move from this to cleaning various tools such as rakes and spades, and level all the way up to higher level gear. Next up, we have a new combat skill known as Verbal Attack. This skill would turn the combat triangle into more of a combat square and be an integral part of every single encounter in the game. Every monster in RuneScape would need to be outfitted with highly advanced AI and would be able to easily beat you in a battle of wits until you level up your Verbal Attack skill. Monsters will of course be immune to all damage until you're able to say something that makes them mad. High level bosses would require a 20-minute argument to even engage in physical combat. The game will feel so much more alive now that you can have full-on flame wars with NPCs. Last and definitely least, we have Microtransaction. Guys, I've been saying for years that OSRS is really lacking in microtransactions, especially when compared to RS3. We have bonds, and those are cool, but we need more. Some people might disagree with me, and so I think I found a middle ground here. Microtransaction would be a cross-game skill where you gain XP in OSRS whenever you buy microtransactions in RS3. The more expensive the item, the more XP that you get from buying it. What other skill would let you gain XP while also setting up your RS3 account with the freshest cosmetics? It's a win-win, everyone is happy here. Maxing out the skill should cost somewhere in the ballpark of $14,000 to $16,000. A lot of people like to say that having a maxed account doesn't mean much these days. Well, with Microtransaction, it will mean that you spent 5 figures at minimum on a skill, and your dedication to this game will never be questioned again. The Squeal of Fortune should also make a return for those skillers who like a bit of lighthearted gambling. You should have a chance of gaining huge amounts of XP in this skill from a lucky spin, and also the chance to gain none to ramp up the excitement. You could be one of the lucky few who only spent $8,000 to max as opposed to $16,000. The skill cape would of course display the amount you spent to get to 99. Think about what a flex it would be to say, hey, I got my cape for cheaper than most other people. That in itself is reason enough to add this skill. I also think that the majority of content in the game, including all Grandmaster quests, raids, bosses, mini-games, and gigantic portions of the game world, should be locked behind microtransaction level requirements to discourage players from ignoring this skill. Can you think of a better idea for a skill than this? Let me know in the comments.